Hi, I'm Phil Little, specialist with the Pennsylvania Office of the Attorney General, coming to you today to talk about scams revolving around the coronavirus. I just wanted to take a minute, though, and talk about how this information came about. And one of the great things that our office, along with our Attorney General, Josh Shapiro, has done, has partnered with the U.S. Attorney's Office in Western Pennsylvania, Scott Brady's office, to form the Western Pennsylvania COVID-19 Fraud Task Force. This force was initiated to investigate and prosecute scammers taking advantage of the pandemic. Look, one of the big things that I talk about with people across this Commonwealth are when it comes to scams, we must understand that scammers work off of people's emotions. I couldn't think of a more fitting situation than a global pandemic than a scammer to thrive in, and of course, create scams to work off of one's emotions. Today's goal is very simple, is to give you more information and to spot these red flags when it deals with these types of scams specific to the coronavirus. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at some of these scams. Our first scam that we're going to look at is what we call our supply scam. This revolves around some of the protective equipment that we have seen being sold out at different stores across our nation. Things such as masks, hand sanitizers, and protective gloves, just to name a few of those items. Scammers have worked off of this demand by creating fake shops, websites, or social media accounts claiming to sell these types of medical supplies that are in this high demand. They reach out to consumers, and when consumers attempt to purchase these supplies through the channels that they have created, these fraudsters quickly then pocket the money, and the victim will never see that equipment that they thought they were purchasing come to them. So let's talk about some of the things dealing around the supply scam that we should remember. Number one, only buy what we would need. This stuff is in such high demand, we want to make sure that others can stay protected as well. Only purchasing the amount that we need and not in that hoarding manner where others simply could not get the protective equipment that they need to keep them and their loved ones safe as well. Also, one of the big things we talk about when it comes to any scam, when it's too good to be true, the deal or the offer, oftentimes it is. Make sure that you are dealing directly with reputable stores and vendors. Be cautious of pop-up websites that have no reviews of sales or any positive information about their transactions with their customers. Also, make sure if you are online and shopping that when you are checking out, that in your address bar, look for the HTTPS before ordering. Think of S for secure. That can enable and give you peace of mind in knowing that it is a safe, secure website for you to put in your sensitive information to complete that transaction. Next, look for fake websites and links that won't deliver the goods. Oftentimes, these websites are put up quickly to maintain and get up there so that they can maximize their profit off of their victims. Compare prices and watch out for those additional fees. Make sure that you know before going into purchase what is typically the going rate for a mask, a set of masks, a pint of hand sanitizer, and things of that nature, so that you know that the price you're paying isn't an exorbitant amount compared to what the going rate is. Also, be aware of counterfeit products. Some masks may say that they're N95, meaning that they block out 95% of the pollutants and particles in the air. That may simply not be true. Like a good consumer, do your research and ensure what you are buying is legit and coming from the organization they say who they are. The next scam that we want to take a look at is price gouging scams. This may be a real organization or a real vendor selling real equipment, but in fact, the price that they are selling at might be a significantly higher price than if it were in a non-emergency setting. Just a little bit of information. It is legally considered price gouging when the price of one of these products increases more than 20% its price 1 week prior to an emergency declaration here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So, for example, if a mask prior to the emergency declaration was on sale for, let's say, $2, and the next week it was on sale after the declaration, emergency declaration, was on sale for $20. That would be considered price gouging. I want to take a moment and focus your attention on the lower left hand side of the screen and talk about the second email address you'll see there at pricegouging at attorneygeneral.gov. If you have any information in these types of practices or of price gouging and whatnot, please do not hesitate to email us at that email address with your information. So let's take a look at some of the tips and precautions that we can take when dealing with the price gouging scam. First, price and shop out before making a purchase. Like any good consumer, regardless of scams, it's important to know what the going rate typically is for the good that you want to purchase. It gives you a good understanding of what that going rate is so that you would be able to have that red flag go off in your head that if you know a pack of 5 masks goes typically for $10. If you are now seeing it at a price of $30, that would raise a red flag. Knowing what the going rate gives you that good benchmark indicator. Secondly, watch for items like masks, sanitizer, toilet paper, things that we see quickly coming off the shelves at those gouged prices. Those are the things that we're going to see scammers target because it is in such high demand. Third, remember, prices can exceed 20% of what it was last week prior to the declaration here in the Commonwealth. We talked about the example of the mask being one price 1 week and skyrocketing in price the next week once that declaration was put in place. Fourth, review receipts against the advertised price. Make sure what the price that was advertised that brought you to that site or that store is what you paid. Compare that advertised price against the receipt to make sure that they both match up. Last, be alert for the old classic bait and switch scheme. This happens when merchants will promise someone or a consumer a great price or a product to get them through the door, quote unquote. And in fact, they don't have that product, and the whole time they were trying to sell something else, typically for a higher price. So, see, these are some of the tips and precautions that we can take in dealing with the price gouging scam. The next scam that we're going to look at is the investment scam. Scammers are offering online promotions, typically through various platforms such as the internet or social media, claiming that the products or services of the publicly traded companies can prevent, detect, or even in some cases cure the coronavirus. And because of that fact, the stock of these companies will dramatically increase in value as a result. These promotions are often styled as research reports, make predictions of a specific target price, and relate to micro cap stocks or low price stocks issued by the smallest of companies with limited public available information. So now that again we understand a little more how the investment scam works and what it looks like, let's take a look at some of the tips and precautions again that we can take to keep ourselves safe from this scam. First, like any good investor or even consumer, we should always research carefully. Simply don't allow someone's high pressure sales tactic or some magical claim be the sole reason why we would invest. Please do your research. Also, be wary of stock advice from unsolicited sources. Make sure the organization or where you're getting that source is a reputable one. Oftentimes, people will create advertisements or just simply create a sponsored ad maybe online. Of a simple search you put, one of the first few hits may be a sponsored ad for hoping that you, as that investor, see that and use that information as your source to go ahead and invest. Also, be aware of these research reports. They may be false information. They may look legit, but again, were designed to go ahead and confuse or go ahead and trick that consumer into going ahead and making that investment. Be wary of organizations that claim to cure this coronavirus. You've heard me say it once, and you'll probably hear me say it again through this program. I wish that there was a cure. Unfortunately, that simply at this time is not that case. Lastly, you are always welcome to contact the PA Department of Banking Securities to look in further with this information about different investment scams or things that are happening here in the Commonwealth. Another scam that has been around for ages and ages is the charity scams. This one typically happens over the phone. Now, when we talk about scams in the general sense dealing with charities, usually we're talking about, again, working off of emotions. And typically, this one is working off of the emotions of pulling on the victim's heartstrings, compelling them that their donation will make that difference in someone's life in helping them in those situations. Typically, we're talking about issues surrounding maybe natural disasters. Think a hurricane, think an earthquake, things like that. But this time, we're talking about the coronavirus. Typically, what happens here, as we see, is that the scammer will be calling and asking for you to make a donation, and your money, whatever you give, will go and help those people who are affected by this virus. So now that we understand a little more how the scam works, let's take a look at some of the tips and precautions dealing with the charity scam. One of the big things that we talk about is never blindly giving to a charity simply based off of a phone call made to you. Always verify who they are and really check them out. Please never blindly give to that charity. Two, be cautious of those people calling you, asking and soliciting for donations of their high pressure sales tactics or appeals. Oftentimes, you'll see these people ask if you can give maybe $20. Well, how about 15? And continue to dwindle down on the amount of they're asking for you in hopes that you'll finally give. Please do not give in to those high pressure tactics. Third, if you do want to give to this charity, I would ask for their last year's financial reports and have them mailed to you. Real organizations, they'll have no issue doing that. Scammers, they're not going to have a year's worth of financial reports and be able to mail them to you, okay? Fourth, be aware of these copycat organizations reaching out. One of the big things that we talk about is don't let the caller ID fool you. So, what we mean by that is if you were to get a call, and let's say for story's sake, it says the United Way on your caller ID, and the person on the other side of the phone says, "Hi, I'm from the United Way," you'd be led to believe because of the caller ID saying that and them telling you that indeed they're from there. Unfortunately, there is something out there called a spoofing device where anyone can make the caller ID say whatever they want it to say. So please do not let the caller ID be your sole source of confirmation that these people are exactly where they say they are calling from. Next, be aware and just understand that you can do a simple online search of just typing in the charity name plus the word scam and see what comes back. See if there are other consumers that have posted similar stories and situations that you have been introduced to or they have presented to you. That's a good way to figure out if this indeed is a scam or not. And lastly, you can always check online or call the PA Department of State and the Charities Bureau. The next scam that we're going to take a look at is called the CARES Act scam. This revolves around the concept that we see oftentimes in the news about Americans receiving some sort of financial payment from the government. And because not everything is quite clear sometimes, scammers take advantage of that and call or contact, I should say, those victims in hoping that they can get money from them. It happens in a number of different ways. One is that maybe they pretend to be the IRS themselves and contact that victim and ask for some sort of verification of who they are. Maybe they ask for their social security number to confirm their identity, something like that. Please do not do that. The IRS is never going to call you to confirm. They have your information. Another way that this may play out is you may be contacted and said that you can receive your stimulus check faster if you pay a small processing fee. Please do not take this bait. These stimulus checks cannot be expedited even if you were to pay quote unquote this processing fee. That fee is what they're trying to get from you to get money, and it is simply a scam. Please understand that the IRS is not going to reach out to you, they're not going to call you, and we just have to simply wait until this money comes in. These are the types of things that typically scammers do to try to contact their victims and get money out of them. So now that we understand a little bit more how the CARES Act scam works, let's go ahead and review some of the tips and precautions that we can take in this situation. First, never verify your information with someone you do not know. Regardless, oftentimes these scammers will pretend to be a government organization, and sometimes victims think, oh, it's okay then if it's that government organization, I can verify the information. Please do not do that. Oftentimes, the scam just revolves when they want you to give that personal piece of information. It only revolves around that because they want that piece of information. So, for example, if they contacted you and said, hey, we just need your social security number to verify who you are, that whole scam and scenario only existed to extract that social security number from the victim. Okay. Also, watch out for these fake recovery grant offers that revolve around the coronavirus. If you see these things, again, a simple search online may really help you in the difference between becoming a victim and not becoming a victim. Next, we talked about never paying fees to process your stimulus check. There are no fees associated with this. Paying a fee does not expedite the process. So please, again, do not engage in that either. Next, no one should ever be contacting you about your check. So even if one were to be getting a phone call or some sort of correspondence, that should be a red flag at all. Also, I should say. And please, lastly, if you do not receive your money, please do not hesitate on your own to independently find the IRS's number or email or whatever way you feel comfortable getting in touch with them to reach out about the status on your check. So now that we've reviewed some of the different scenarios and scams that are revolving around the coronavirus, I just want to share this acronym with you, SCAM. And it really helps put in perspective how all scams, regardless if they're coronavirus or not, how it helps us understand what scams are and the scenarios with them. So when we look at the word scam, we break down this acronym. S stands for sudden. These things happen quickly, whether it's a phone call that you get out bothering you out of your day, or a piece of mail that you get, or an email, right? They're making that C for contact with you, right? They want to make contact to either extract that money from you or get some personal piece of information. Third, they want you to act now. Typically with scams, what we see is that there's some sort of urgency built into that scam. Maybe what they're presenting to you, they may say this deal is only as good for as long as we're on the phone. You have 24 hours to respond. They want you to act quickly. Why, you may say, or you may ask, is because they don't want you thinking about what's being presented to you. They simply just want you to do what they say, right? And lastly, for M, all scams exist to either extract money or personal information from that victim. So it's really easy when we put those together and use the acronym SCAM to understand truly what happens within scams, and it gives us a better understanding. Also, some other general consumer tips we've talked about throughout some of these scams, but just to go ahead and relay, or I should say recap here following up. One, know who you're dealing with. We talked about already the caller ID. Don't just let that be your sole source of confirmation. Really know who it is you're talking to. Just because someone says maybe they're from an organization doesn't necessarily mean that. Now, am I here to tell you that you can't trust anyone? No. But what I am saying is if someone's reaching out anyway, asking for personal information or money, we should really step back and do our homework on who are those people? Are they indeed from the organization they are saying they are from? Never provide information, personal information or financial information to callers. This is a huge one. Again, this is verifying who we know we're dealing with. And just because of a phone call, we don't just simply give out personal information or monies over that phone. Again, avoid claims of the cure for this coronavirus or some type of vaccine. They simply do not exist yet. As much as I wish they did, they simply do not. Also, if you're going to deal with websites, make sure you're dealing with a .gov instead of a .com or a .org. As you can see in this fourth bullet point, we have cdc.com, cdc.org. Those aren't the actual websites for the real CDC. Indeed, it's actually cdc.gov. Just three simple letters are the difference between seeing a spoofed website and indeed the real authentic website. Also, lastly, make sure that you obtain information from trusted, reputable sources, again, such as the Center for Disease Control, local, state, and government, and other health care providers. So, again, there are just some things there to recap dealing with these scams and some of the tips and precautions that we can take. Also, if you are ever in need to contact us, you see our number for our Bureau of Consumer Protection at the top here, as well as our Senior Protection Unit line. Please do not hesitate to reach out and contact us. Secondly, you see these two website, or I should say email addresses here at the bottom, scams at attorneygeneral.gov and price gouging at attorneygeneral.gov. Please do not hesitate again to reach out if you are aware of a scam that is happening or if you are aware of any price gouging tactics. We already went ahead and talked about that information. If you are keen and have any information, please do not hesitate to reach out and contact us. Lastly, if for any general information on our office, you can please visit us at our website at attorneygeneral.gov. Again, I just want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day to really educate yourself and equip yourself with the tools and knowledge of spotting the red flags and the tips and precautions that we can take when dealing with issues and scams revolving around the coronavirus. I urge you, if someone that you know, a friend or loved one, has not seen this information, please pass it along to them. Truly, knowledge is power. And the more Pennsylvanians that we educate and equip them with this knowledge, the far better off we're going to be in having scammers not be able to go ahead and reach out to Pennsylvanians and take their personal information or their monies. Again, if you have any contact information, or I should say, if you want to reach out to me, again, my name is Phil Little, and you can reach me at plittle at attorneygeneral.gov. Or if you have any questions revolving around this program, any questions at all, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. My personal number, you can always call me at, is 412 525 0738. I understand that sometimes a virtual program, there may be some more questions and not as much clarification. So please do not hesitate to call if something wasn't clear enough. I'd be more than happy to discuss it over the phone. So again, I just want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day and equipping yourself with these tools and knowledge. Again, I'm Phil Little with the Pennsylvania Office of the Attorney General, and myself, and on behalf of our Attorney General, Josh Shapiro, thank you for attending today.